Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to a Lyceum night coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church down on the south coast of the UK. Great delight to be working with a wonderful person tonight. The lovely Fredrik Haglund from Sweden. Fredrik, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Lawrence. Thank you for inviting me back here to this lovely and beautiful environment. And I'm absolutely fine. Thank you.
Good. It's always a pleasure to catch up with people. We talk a lot outside of this, but it's great just to be able to have that conversation once in a while.
Sometimes we want to share with everyone what we are talking about, so this is a wonderful opportunity.
And sometimes we don't.
Exactly. So now I'm looking forward to the evening.
Good. So warm welcome to everybody joining us at home. Thank you for joining us, and a warm welcome to those people who will be watching this sometime in the future. We hope that it's got some information or conversation starters there for you. The topic of tonight is unfoldment. I know that's quite a generic term, unfoldment, because we use that a lot in the movement about people's unfoldment. But I'm looking at it in different aspects as well, our continuing unfoldment, because we do tend to, at times, go, oh, we've got there, with different stages of our life, and within spiritualism, within our understanding, with our work as an evidential medium, we do tend to sort of like stop, whether it's conscious or not, I don't know. But we're going to talk tonight about this unfoldment, not only on a personal level, but also for people working in whatever factor your mediumship comes over within the movement. So what's your thoughts, Fredrik?
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that you need to continue with the whole of your life, and not stop and think you're finished and think you're ready with something, because there is always something new to learn. And if we look into mediumship and spirituality, I mean, every step you're taking is just another step on the stepping stone, and we will never ever be fully learned and fully understanding of the whole of our process. And of course, we have a free choice and free will to stop developing and unfold in the way we want. But if we want to develop as on a personal level, on a spiritual level, we have to continue this journey, and just telling us ourselves this is very important.
Indeed, I agree wholeheartedly. And when we first come into the movement, and this is everybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we first come into the movement, we're learning the basics. But as we progress, how long have you been working as an evidential medium? I know you've been in spiritualism a long time, but
I think just a couple of years, just a few years.
Wow.
Because I felt it was quite comfortable to sit in the development groups and just be part of the group. It was a familiar feeling, and then I didn't want to go out and work on a platform, or private sitting was always fun and I always enjoyed doing them. But standing on a platform with 50 odd people looking at you and wondering where you're coming from, I never felt comfortable of doing that. So I rather much prefer to sit in a circle amongst those that I developed with, and also attending workshops and circles where I felt comfortable and knew everyone in Sweden, and this is before the Arthur Findlay College. And then when I came to the Arthur Findlay College the first time, it was the same kind of feeling. It was a comfortable feeling, and it's a homely feeling. But then the spirit world put me in front of people, because there was a medium who had to cancel for one reason, and I was asked to do a demonstration, and I was really nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, so what am I doing if it's not working tonight? I'm not a good storytelling, and I can't entertain people and our with funny jokes and things like that. But luckily, everything worked perfectly well.
Brilliant. But yeah, the unfoldment aspect, I love that story. Thank you. I wasn't aware of that. But that unfoldment aspect, I think sometimes we don't think too much of the future. You know, I mean, you're an extremely competent evidential medium. You know my thoughts on your work. There are several in the room tonight. Good evening, everybody. We've got a lovely Jack and Lola in, bless them.
And Sandra.
Sandra, hello, my darling.
Hi.
Marion, welcome. Forgive me if I'm not calling out your name. It's nothing personal. I'm not seeing the comments from my own personal page. So if you are watching on that and thinking, why isn't he answering me? It's because I can't see my comments for some reason. But never mind, we'll move on. But yeah, this unfoldment, we tend to pin a flag, don't we? We think, right, I want to get there. I want to be there. I want to be there as an evidential medium, or I want to be there as a healer, or I want to be there as a philosopher or whatever. But I think sometimes in doing that, we deny ourselves, you know, once we are there, we tend not to think, well, what's going to be next? You know, talking about platform evidential mediums, and I've had this conversation recently with somebody. You know, you get to a point of you getting bookings and you're going out and you're working, etc., etc., etc. But to me, you should be thinking like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line. You know, are you going to just stay doing that? And when I say just stay doing that, unfortunately, there is sort of like a shelf life, really, of platform mediums. You know, we see mediums, new mediums come into the fore. Everybody's raving about them. But over time, that enthusiasm starts to dip and wane a little bit. So what are you going to do about that? Do you just continue on? Or do you think, well, do you know what? I've got to actually now specialize in what I'm doing. I maybe focus on private sit-ins. I may focus on spiritual assessments. I may focus on mentorship and things like this. And again, this is this unfoldment, but this is sort of, we have the unfoldment talk to us about spirit, but then we got to a stage where we've got to start working on our own unfoldment. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to go back to what you were talking about before, because when we see someone, you really want to be as good as a person, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be that good, and I'm going to have it. But where we are just happy, where we are just happy.
Yeah. Sorry, Fredrik, you broke up there.
Yeah. And then when we finally reach where we want to be, we never realize how far we have come in our own development, because we never ever sits down and looking into how far have I come, what is my next step, exactly as you said. But I think it's necessary to stand up and see how far I've come, what is the quality of my mediumship today, and what do I need to look into.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. We've just got a few problems with the streaming tonight, Fredrik. You do freeze a little bit and then cut out. I don't know if you can shut down any windows that you don't need at your end, because sometimes the bandwidth is a bit low. So I don't know if you've got Facebook or anything open, and just shut those tabs. But yeah, it is true. And actually, you raise a very good point there. You say about we don't stop and look at where we are now and how far we've come. And that is very true. That is very true. Everybody watching, what's your thoughts on that? Do you do these self-appraisals at times on where you are now, where you were 2-3 years ago, and more importantly, where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years' time? So yeah, appreciate your thoughts on that. But and mediumship, evidential mediumship, platform mediumship, it is a lone journey, but it can also be actually quite a lonely journey as well, because we don't see the interaction so much between working mediums in whatever fields that we used to in years gone by. Thankfully, times like this now, where we're going online, we have actually started to regain that a bit. I'm looking down the list here of people in the room, and there's quite a very high percentage of working evidential mediums in the room. So that's really good that, we can come together for this time, share thoughts, ideas. Lovely Sandra is saying here, we never stop learning. This is very true. But I do feel sometimes we maybe neglect ourselves a little bit on the unfoldment by just going on, by not actually going, do you know what? Where do I want to be in 2 years? Where do I want to be in 3 years? I know it sounds very business-like, but to me, we need to keep progressing. And if we don't put it out there, if we don't start to formulate that thought and energy, it's just not going to manifest.
And also you need to want to be what you want to be within a couple of years. It's not just a thought of today, within 2 years, I would like to do this and this and this. But you also have to manifest it and really believe and believe in yourself that you're capable of doing it.
Yeah. And work towards that in how you're working now, where you're working now.
Yeah.
And all these, everything we're doing now is the building blocks of our future. So sometimes we need to start to manage that, or just look at it and just think, am I going where I want to be going, or I feel I should be going? Very true, Sandra. It's a continuous progression of our soul. And yes, we are open to that, but I believe that we've actually got to be a little bit active in that progression, not to sit back and wait for it to progress around us.
You have to work towards it, otherwise it's not going to work. It's the same with everything in life. You have to manifest it, and then you have to work towards it and find your journey and your pathway to gain what you want.
Yeah, very true. And it's interesting because I know here at Paul, and I know that I've seen this reported at other churches and centres, we have had another new influx of people coming into our churches and centres to find out more. And starting, we're working with people who are just starting on that unfoldment, the very basics of what spiritualism is about. And quite often, in order to do that, we have to do the opposite of unfoldment, where we actually have to take away some of the preconceived thoughts and ideas about how we interact with the spirit world, to then start on a much more educated and logical step to working with the spirit world.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also educate yourself and finding new pathway and new knowledge for yourself as well, instead of just walking in the same journey all the time. You need to expand your own knowledge. You need to expand the understanding you have as well, because everything progresses and develop, and within that you have the natural unfoldment, because as you decide, making your decision to go forward, everything will fall into place.
Yeah, I agree there totally. I mean, it's nearly 3 years now we've been doing these Saturday nights. Oh my God. But I know in and through that, not only the conversations that we've been having with different people online, also the wonderful opportunity to actually meet these people, yourself included there. And that has progressed. That has actually, given my path. I'm going to be selfish now. My path has changed dramatically over the last 3 years because I've got a widening circle of people I'd like to say are my friends, but they're all bringing with them their own unique perspectives and views on working with spirit and working with ourselves, because we do tend to leave ourselves out of it. But yeah, I'm fortunate that I'm in that position. But it's bringing this out to other people and the understandings of the ways of spirit and the potential of spirit. We do tend to focus a wee bit, in my opinion, a wee bit too much on making people mediums. But we are redressing that here at Paul, certainly, and I've seen in a few other places, just bringing in workshops, courses, events to fertilize that, the new influx of people coming in, to get that bedrock in of people that are not going to come in just wanting to be a medium, but they want to come in and find out more about themselves and life and how they fit into the plan.
And I think that's very important.
Hugely.
And also, I mean, when people coming into the churches or centers, I mean, it's no secret about mediumship, because everyone can start a journey and developing themselves to be a medium, and then it's about how much time you and privacy you put into it, and then everyone can be a medium. Everyone can stand on a platform and deliver a message in one way or another. Everyone can do a private reading in one way or another. But when you're working with your mediumship and working as a medium, there has to be something more that attracting you to come to the church, because you're not really looking for a message yourself. There has to be something else that attracts your soul and wants to go there. Of course, it's lovely to see medium work, and you learn so much from seeing them work as well. But there has to be something more who attracting your soul and make your soul to grow by just being in the environment.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I say to people, do you know what? The message is like the sprinkles on the cake. It's there to attract you and to get your attention. But I say, once you've had that evidence, once you know and accept the continuity of life in whichever form, because we all think of it differently, that's when we can really start working on ourselves and thinking, okay, where do I fit in with this? Lovely Marion Frisbee. Hello, my darling. We may be already working the platform, but constructive feedback from knowledgeable friends may be invaluable as to where we can improve, knowing they have your back.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Wonderful comments.
Yeah. Well, yeah, couldn't agree more, Marion. Do you know what? As a working medium myself, I found myself, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, after Deming or taking a service anywhere, you would get the usual, oh, that was lovely, that was wonderful. But actually, at times, I wish people, my partner of the time, but he was there right at the beginning, he was very good at saying things. I had a habit of doing this in front of the microphone. He said, stop rubbing your damned hands in front of the microphone because we can't hear you. And I love that. And I do wish, and I'm very fortunate, Fredrik and a few people in the room tonight who I know have come back to me and said, yeah, that was all right, but what about so-and-so? And that makes such a difference to us as a medium, because we got the other side of the sword where something was said, and I picked up on the energy of it, of, okay, so 4 mediums were stood in a church slagging off another medium. I was like, have a think about that. Have a think about that, what you've just said and what you're doing, So, yeah, well done, Marion. It really is important. You got a good circle of friends who support you in that way, Fredrik.
Yeah, I have.
Brilliant.
And I think it's very important to have for many reasons, because one reason is most of my work is online and in my second language, so it's not even in my normal language. So therefore, you need to have people who can be true and honest to you and telling you, please don't do that, don't say that, don't say that. Why don't you do this and this instead?
Yeah.
And then when you know the person have an honest intention, it's so much easier to take the critique,
Oh gosh, yeah.
because you need the critique to grow, both as a medium but also as a person, because what you learn in one way is very, very beneficial in the other way as well. So it is like it works very much hand in hand.
Yeah, and it is invaluable, and especially as we're seeing now, we're seeing different cultures working online, and there are cultural differences in our nationalities. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. That sometimes don't quite translate into another one. I've heard things mentioned by mediums from Europe, and I know what they're talking about, but actually in England that means something totally different. It's not translating. But if you can just talk and share that and go, yeah, I really get what you're talking about, but over here we would call it that, because what you've just called it, people are just going, hey, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I had a thing like that myself when I was working because we have something called summer house here, but yeah, but in UK it's something totally different. So it was actually that was a good laugh.
Yeah, that was in my mind.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to raise. But yes, you've raised it. Hey, but yeah, there's a phraseology in the Nordic countries about summer houses, which is a holiday home you would go to in somewhere warmer climes. But of course, when you're saying that in an English auditorium, you say about the summer house, and I was going to the summer house, and it's got the suitcases and taking food down there, and people are going, why? Because a summer house in the UK is like a shed at the bottom of the garden.
Yeah, but you learn through your journey, but therefore you need to have people who are true and honest to you, otherwise you will get so lost. But
Yeah.
you're also creating this funny laughter amongst people, because when people realize what you mean, you have this wonderful laugh from people and the support as well.
Yeah, and this is very true, and it does bring in that energy as well of the unfoldment. All right, you can divide it into two categories. There's our own private, personal unfoldment. With today's world and things happening not only within spiritualism but within the world itself, you have your own thoughts, you have your own ideals about things, you have your own thinking about things. And I know some people can't wait to spread it all over social media or whatever to sort of like keep stirring the cauldron. But you just see, you learn, you apply your spiritual side to situations. You try and see the energies at work. You try and see the underlying story of things. That's your personal unfoldment, but then you've got your shared experiences. People like yourself, lovely Jack, Lola in the room tonight. You can share these unfoldment times and just sitting down and having a nice, if I say sensible, I'm not being demeaning, but a nice sensible conversation about matters of the spirit and matters how they impinge on you and how it's so wow. You come out and you just think great, and even if you don't agree on certain subjects, that's actually allowed. It's called debate.
Yeah, but it's always wonderful to hear other people's opinion, because and how they're thinking and why they're thinking as they do, because what is right for them might not be right for me. So that makes the beauty of the conversation.
Indeed. and something that I've been saying a lot lately. We tend to look for the truth, the one truth. And you'll hear a trance medium, for example. One trance medium will give their thoughts and their team's thoughts on the subject. You can have another trance medium and their team giving a totally different opinion on that subject, and people get a little bit confused by that at times. And it's sort of like, it's just like the world. Nobody has got the truth. We've all got our own truths, but as long as we're open to developing that truth, developing that understanding, other factors coming in and maybe affecting us, thinking, oh, you know what, I used to think that, but if I accept that, then actually I've got to adjust my thinking here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this unfoldment thing is a continual progression. As the lovely Sandra said, it is a continual progression of the soul, but of the mind also, the understanding of the debate and the philosophy about the beauties and wonders of spiritualism.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you can take a topic as, shall I say, like reincarnation, for example. I mean, no matter of... I'm not going to debate it here, but it doesn't matter how many trans medium or other mediums you're speaking to, you will hear different stories from each and every one. And then you have to decide, who shall I believe and why shall I believe that person? So there's always this, and in the end of the day, you will be even more confused than you were before you asked the question.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So I think it's very, very much up to each and every one what we think and what we believe as well, and so to say, with many different topics as well.
I think if we approach things in that energy of it's a work in progress, because there's another side to this, that we can hear or read other people's philosophies. And yes, Jack, this is our conversation today, so thank you, Jack. About taking others' philosophies as being the truth, and well, it can't be that because so and so says this. Again, it's just a different perspective. It's a different viewpoint on the same subject. I'd love doing this in services to get this point over. I'll say to people, could you all imagine a boat? And give them a minute. And I go, right, what colour was your boat? Blue. What was yours? Red. What was yours? Green. It's all a boat, but it's all from each person's separate perspective.
Exactly.
So it just helps to get that thinking over, the things that we read, the things that we hear are that person's and their spirit team's thoughts at this time, which will have to evolve or continue to grow, continue to change and adapt to the current world and our own thinking. So again, we're coming back to this unfoldment. It's not only an eternal thing, but it's a perpetual state of being as well. And we need to be aware of that a little bit more, I think. Right. Lovely Julie Caswell. I have found the more I learn, the less I know.
I think that's quite common.
Yeah, it is. Because you get the answer to one question, it then promotes about 10 other questions, and you think, oh, what's going on here? And lovely Sandra, we shouldn't believe anyone, we should find out for ourselves. Hear.
Yeah, very true. True.
Yeah, hear. We've got some wonderful access to some great works over the centuries now within the world of spiritualism. Not decrying them, they are very interesting of a perspective at a time. Working with the thinking, the understanding, the logic behind it can help you in today's world, but it doesn't, if Silver Birch said something in 1930, it doesn't mean it's that particular situation is applicable today, but maybe the energy of it is applicable.
Yeah. And then, of course, you're wondering where are all these. I mean, in the past, we have all those wonderful pioneers and who become very, very famous as well. But where is the quality? Where is the same quality today of speakers, philosophy that everyone are so touched by? Because you can go to a service, you can listen to so many different people, and you become touched by what they're saying. So today it's unbelievable, but you wouldn't find any one specific speaker who would touch you as much as Silverberg books did when you first read them, because you progress and you take on board different things today, and what's said in the past was more or less law in the past, but today everything is much more open and modernized in a positive way.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Because when we listen to philosophy today, we are much more open, and also we have access to the whole world by internet, by Google, by online churches and everything, and there is so much to watch and so much to look, so you can pick something very, very good from everyone that you're looking at.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly there. We have had some wonderful statesmen and women of the past, because spiritualism was a little bit more focused, a little bit more defined. We didn't have the number of churches, we didn't have the number of working demonstrators that we do today. So although their works were of an exceptional standard, it was very focused, because there wasn't any, if I say competition, it's probably not quite the right word, but there wasn't that in that market, it wasn't flooded. Today's market is very flooded with a number of speakers and demonstrators, but there are some exceptional speakers and demonstrators. I will say you, Fredrik, because I mean it, you know my thoughts about your work. Lovely Jack and Lola. I know Sandra is getting out there a lot. Marion is doing wonderful works. Wonderful Ewan Irvin, who visited Paul. His address, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Tim Abbott. You know, we have got so much choice and so much range now of equal, if not better. But we do sort of like keep going back to the past and what. You know, oh, well, Gordon Higgins, you know, oh, well, whoever said it, oh, whoever, you know, but actually, I think we need to look around today's world and today's speakers and demonstrators and realize the value and the worth that they bring to our movement.
Sorry to interrupt, but no. Also, I mean, in the past, you had to read it in books, and today you can access an online demonstration to see a wonderful speaker and listen to them. You don't need to wait for it's printed in a book or anything. It's accessible here and now, which makes a huge difference, and which also is the beauty of it.
Yeah, very true. And Sandra is saying, we need to be inspired by spirit and allow the great philosophers of spirit to touch our soul. Here. Here, indeed.
And a medium who does that online, for example, in Pool, that would be accessible for the whole world live, but also recorded, and it wouldn't be printed in a book, but it's accessible immediately when the medium's standing on the platform.
Yeah. And that was quite a pull myself up moment when I was saying about, you know, people watching this in the future. I thought, oh goodness, we are actually building a library up here, and who knows, 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the line, people will come across these recordings and go, wow, what was going on then? That's so interesting. So we are recording this history every day for future generations. But getting back to the topic here about the unfoldment, is the opportunities as well. for us to unfold. We had your wonderful workshop, or your course, your 5-day course here last year. And I was very heartened that 40% of the attendees were working platform mediums. And I thought, that is so good. That is so good to see that, you know, although I'm out there working for Spirit, I've still got that one eye open of I can learn more. I can acquire more knowledge. I can acquire more confidence, understanding, different techniques. That was absolutely wonderful to see.
I mean, that's the same when I attend a workshop or a course myself, is because I want to learn and I want to develop and I want to put everything together in a different way. And I also want the spirit world to have an opportunity to develop myself. And I mean, I'm sitting in circles today here in Sweden, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to develop yourself and grow both as a person, but also as a medium.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mark Stone used to work with the lovely Glyn Edwards. He relayed a story and I absolutely adored it. Glyn Edwards would occasionally go out and sit in an open circle somewhere, whatever area they found themselves on. If there was a church in the area and they had an open circle, he would go and sit in these open circles, and people were going, "Why you sat in this circle?" And he just responded, "I want to unlearn some of the bad habits that I picked up." And I thought, oh, that is so good, you know. And this is a time when Glyn was at the real apex of his career. That going and sitting in an open circle just to be, and just to get back in contact with spirit and oneself. I just thought that is absolutely beautiful, because I've had on the other side of the coin mediums saying, "Well, why do I want to sit in circle?" You just think, because you should.
Yeah.
So you're very quiet out there tonight. Am I getting everybody's messages? Lovely Jack has been very quiet. I don't know what's going on there. Well, with you, Fredrik, with your pathway, where you are today, thoughts of the future yet, or is it just something, or private, and that's absolutely fine?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm open to what comes, but of course, I want to develop my mediumship to a higher degree. I want the evidence to be stronger and better. I want the quality of my mediumship to be stronger and better. And I still love to watch other medium work, and there's a few mediums that I really love to watch, and Tim is one of them. And when I have seen Sandra do her demonstration, it has always been amazing, and it's just a naturalness of mediumship. And there's so many more medium, and Gordon Smith is another medium, but it's you have some goals that you would like to achieve, that kind of level of mediumship, and then develop further on above that as well. But most foremost, to be the best channel for the spirit world that you can be, and follow the journey that your soul has put in front of you. It doesn't matter what me as a Fredrik wants. The most important is that I can work in the way my soul found its way for me, to find the best way for me to work, and then do the best work I can do for the spirit world.
Yeah, lovely, absolutely lovely. And very similar. And since the interactions with not only yourself, but lovely Jack, who's having problems with Lola, apparently, so never mind, have inspired me to work deeper into my mediumship, to keep digging, to find out more evidence. I had to, listen, I never blow my own trumpet, all right? I don't do that. I talk about things as a factual experience, and I had to step in here the other week. The medium couldn't make it, and at the end of the night, I thought, do you know what? That was probably one of the best stems that you've ever done, because I really, really went in deep. But I only managed that because of talking with people like yourself, with Jack, with Lola, with Tim, and all loads of different people, to just keep persevering and to keep developing and keep, getting more and more and more out of it. So I think Jack and Lola are just having a punch up on the settee here, so that's lovely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michelle. It's great to see you here as well.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, this unfoldment thing, it's this continual. I know in the principles of spiritism, we talk about the eternal progress of the human soul, and then we talk about unfoldment. But I think we actually need to start sort of like getting that bit in between and understanding, we should be progressing ourselves. We should be asking for more. Those of us that work closely with the spirit world, ask them more. I always say to people, don't be passive in your mediumship. Don't sit there waiting for something to happen. Talk to spirit. Engage with them.
Invite them to work with you.
Yeah. And don't go in like that. Don't ever say, oh, spirit can't do that. Because they're sat upstairs going, what?
The spirit world is on holiday, so they won't work with me today.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I think when we're open and actually really wants to do something, the spirit world is your biggest supporter, and they will do everything they can to bring you where you are meant to be. But it's not working if you're just sitting on a chair with your cup of coffee or tea and waiting for things to happen. You need to want it to happen. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Indeed. And believe it's going to happen as well. There was interesting conversation I was engaged with, and people were talking again about the heyday of spiritualism when it first came into the public eye back in the 1800s. And they were talking about physical mediumship. And in those days, you had to duck when you walk past a window anywhere, because there'd probably be some bloke floating out the window on a chair, and things like that were going on here, there, and everywhere. But I was thinking on that thread, and I thought, well, at that time we were coming out of the Industrial Revolution, so people had seen massive changes in their lifetime. It's a sudden surge forwards. So I do think that maybe with the mindset of that time, where, well, yeah, I'm open to change. Suddenly we've got steam railways. Suddenly I've got an indoor loo. Suddenly I've got plumbing. The human mind was much more open and expansive, and that reflected within spiritualism that our approach to the spirit world wouldn't have been quite so defined as it tends to be nowadays. It would just sort of sit with spirit and go, come on, what can we do? But we are back in that mindset now, because this technological age and the things happening now have opened up our minds again. So again, we're given that right breeding ground to the spirit world that we're not putting the blocks on. We're not.
But what also has come out today, when we're looking into what's happened in the past, is all about the fraud and the fraudulent mediumship of what's happened with the trans, with everything that they were cheating on. So who know what is actually true and not true for what's happened in the past.
Yeah. And this is such a shame, because physical mediumship is something that's been engaged in my thoughts a lot over the last couple of months. And I find it very sad that, yes, there are cases of fraud being carried out where people have actually been caught on camera or in person. But we then go, well, they're a fake. But those people got to being known as a physical medium because they were manifesting that mediumship. Unfortunately, and this is my own personal view, and if anybody disagrees with me, that's absolutely fine. We're allowed to do this. I think a lot of the onus actually falls on us, the public, demanding more. I want you to keep doing sittings. I want you to do, I know one person who's doing 2 sittings a week, 50 people at £80 a head. Well, that's quite a nice income. But I often think, well, what does the spirit world think of that? So we put an awful lot of pressure. I think public demonstrations may disappear in favor of more smaller, private, select demonstrations, because these demonstrations aren't there to amuse us or, make us go, ooh, ah. They serve a purpose. They're there to support our understanding. They're there to support our knowledge of the spirit world. They're there to support us as individuals. But it is sad that we are seeing the fraudulent part. But as I say, I think we've also got to remember that these people more than likely didn't get their well-knownness, their public persona as a physical medium without actually being a physical medium in the first place. It's just things have gone on. I mean, we can do that in our evidential mediumship. I've seen mediums get up and not have a link that night, and that's fine. That happens. You know what? We wake up one morning, we're happy. We wake up one morning, we're sad. It's as simple as that.
But as long as you're true and honest about it and say, this is not going to work. Instead of just rambling on and try to make everything fit and make everything up. I mean, that's the worst thing, because your congregation will always appreciate your honesty, but they won't appreciate your gobbly-go, so to say.
I like that word, gobbly-go. Lovely Sandra.
It's a Swedish word.
Is it? Right, fine. I found out today the Swedish word for scandal is scandal.
Yeah. So, I think it's the same in Danish.
I didn't even bother. I just saw that and I went, that'll do. I understand that. Lovely Sandra. First time I went on platform, I told my guides if the communication was poor, I'd sack them. We've all been there, love.
And then they went on holiday.
Or it was the energy in the room that night. Right, okay. Wonderful, Jack. As mentioned earlier, there's a lot of focus on unfolding the mediumship, and we are often forgetting to unfold life. And if we are not, I believe we're limiting our mediumship.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about it in the beginning of our evening here as well. It needs to work hand in hand.
Very much. It is about our progress. And again, this is something I see sometimes in some evidential mediums, that they just get to a point and just stick there and go, that's it, I'm now a medium and I don't need to do anything else. And that's fine. The spirit world are going, if that's where you want to stay, that's fine. We're not going to drag you out of your orthodoxy. But you're limiting yourself as well. So, Keith Morn, some mediums are terrified to get things wrong. They lack the confidence to say exactly what they hear. I've asked many people what they hope to hear in a reading, and it's a close relative's name, and how that relative is still interacting with them. There is a confidence thing. And again, this is tackled by continuing our unfoldment, continuing our development of getting that link closer and stronger. And if the name's there, great. If the name's not there, great. But just being, like you said, honest in your mediumship.
Yeah.
And if mediums are terrified to get things wrong, maybe that means their thinking Lovely Margaret Challenger, and I love this saying, if you're thinking, you're not linking.
Exactly. So
Jack's back. Not to talk about the philosophy. By unfolding our life and personality, we can be opening a gate to the divine, a world of philosophy that we can allow coming into our mediumship.
very true.
Yeah, it is very true, because in that philosophy, for me, the greatest part of the service is in the address, is in the philosophy, because when that's right, when that is a master performing that time of the service, each and everybody has got a message out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Each and everybody has got something they can use in their life.
Yeah. But I need to ask you, Lawrence, because you run the Pool Church, you run groups, and you see mediums every week there. What would you suggest to people who wants to start their own spiritual journey to look into first, and then develop it and unfold their own ability to progress and develop?
I'm very much of probably the orthodox route. We have recently reintroduced here the open circle. Now, I'm a bit of a tartar about that, because I insist that it is not about evidential mediumship. You may get your own communication with the spirit world for you, which is absolutely fine. I say to people, this is not a circle for you to sit there giving messages to other people, because to me, evidential mediumship is a very active energy. You're engaging with the spirit world, you're in conversation. A meditative circle is a very passive energy. And that is, to me, one of the very key routes, because it is about discovering yourself before you start reaching out to hear from others, be that through mediumship or whatever practice you want to follow. Because if you don't know yourself, how do you know what's being put upon you by the spirit world? If you don't know yourself and have that little life review about your ways and your understandings, that's to me, that is one of the foundation stones. That's one of the bedrock things that you build upon. If that's not there, as it says in the Bible about houses built on sand, I get that as a symbolic meaning. So I would say to people, join well-run open circles. No offense, people, they've got to be well-run. They've got to be run by people who actually know what they're doing. They've got to be run by people who've actually got an understanding of spiritualism. But go within first. Don't come running in going, oh, come on, spirit world, talk to me. Because the spirit world is very much like this world. And there's lots of different characters in this world and the next world. So how are you going to judge, gauge, or vibrate to be able to contact with the people that actually you want to hear from, rather than those that you may not want to hear from?
I mean, you can always use a bad excuse and say, oh, I only have people who don't want to speak to you. So no. Yeah, but make an easy evening. But I totally agree, and I totally agree with you, Lawrence. It's need to find it within yourself first, and then find out how is this going to work for me, and how can I achieve the highest development for myself within myself, and then invite the spirit world to continue develop with me as well. And when it goes hand in hand, that's the perfect journey and the most beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And when you open yourself and allow it to take time, and don't think, oh, I'm going to be the best medium in the world within 2 weeks, or spending a week at the Arthur Findlay College. I mean, when you're open and allow it to take time, then everything will fall into place for you as well, and you will succeed in the way you are meant to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, the constant message from the spirit world is, we love you. But B, they're not saying, we love you and you've got to be able to stand up in front of people and get other people's validation on your connection with us. It's just like, hey, we'll work together, however. But as I say, I think that fundamental has been neglected. It's you know how pedantic I am. I don't make any excuses. I'm at that age now. I'm not going to change. So if you don't like it, too bad. But when you see different groups and events, you know, for beginners, come and improve your mediumship, come and strengthen your, you know, and I'm just thinking, you know, we're building from the first floor up here. What about come and find yourself? What an invitation is that?
It's not selling.
Yeah.
And there you have the next part, because no one will pay 200, for example, £250 for a workshop with the name "Come and Find Yourself." You won't sell it.
Yeah, true.
But if you advertise finding the spirit within you, or develop with the spirit world, then people will come.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you, Fredrik. I cannot disagree with you. But I think we've got to look at the onus as putting back on the churches and centres, and also my favourite topic that I keep banging on about is home circles. I really believe that we are in such an era that home circles can be absolutely invaluable and indispensable to our movement, and not about training evidential mediums or training healers. Just sit. You look at all the fantastic physical mediums, Stuart Alexander, his stories of his home physical circle and ones that he was invited to. Amazing things were happening.
Yeah.
But again, we're not being put on that public platform to get, you know, to get other people's validation of our work. People are invited into these circles to interact with the spirit world. And to get that, wow, that was brilliant. How does that work?
Exactly. And there's another wonderful thing, the Skull Project, where everything was recorded, where they were sitting together, and everything works in such an amazing way. And they have what you call it, written down everything that's happened, all their ports, where they come from, and how they appeared, and everything. So everything is very well documented as well, and that's make it very believable. Yeah. And I could see there was one interesting question from Keith.
This one here. So today, mediumship seems to become a service industry with providers and consumers. It seems that we have to provide what the consumer wants, and that's what we should be working towards. Any thoughts?
No.
That's honest.
Yeah. No, because if you're going to work in the way our consumer or our visitors want us to work, then you're not true to the spirit world. Because when you're standing on the platform as a medium, you're just a channel between the spirit world and the congregation, not what the congregation wants. You bring the spirit world forward in the way they want to come forward and work through you as a medium and speaker.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. But I can also relate in a little bit to what Keith is saying here, because I do see in some venues the choice of demonstrator for the night is probably not based on the evidential value that they've brought to the platform before, but they're funny and they're entertaining, which is very sad. And I've heard it before, but spoken by congregations. Not come see him, he's boring, which means, you know, they're not going to make you laugh. Well, actually, there's nothing in my resume that says I have to be a comedian, or yourself, or Jack, or Sandra, or anything. If you're looking for a night's entertainment, you know, take up bingo, love. As simple as that. But yeah, Keith, I do understand what you're saying there, but thankfully, thankfully, people will react to an evening or a service or whatever based on the quality of that connection to the spirit world, rather than I wasn't sat there splitting my sides with laughter. And there will always be those people around, and that's absolutely fine, absolutely fine. But we won't run the church or centre to put acts on. We would run the churches and centres to bring through the best of the best of the best, and do that all the time, keep improving that standard. Thank you, Keith. What else?
Wow. The time has flying once again.
It has, hasn't it?
It's unbelievable.
Flown by. I'm only, again, just scratched the tip of the iceberg. But I've had my thinking just slightly shifted tonight by some of the things you said, and actually by some of the things I said myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. About this unfoldment thing, you know, we shouldn't put that to one side. We should keep that as a conscious thought within our mediumship, however that manifests, however that is. So I would say our sensitivity to the spirit world, you know, and going, yeah, that was great. What else can we do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, well, that was great. Thank you. Oh, okay, that was great. What else can we do? I had a little lesson the other night. I was going to do an experiment on physical mediumship. And I thought, no, I'm going to leave it because it's going to take about 2 hours to set up. I'm going to leave it and I'll do it at a later date. So I went to bed at 10:30, 12:30, all the alarms went off everywhere, which I've never done before unless there's been a reason. The outside lights came on. There was nobody there. And there's me running around in me 90 thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I suddenly thought, Lawrence, this is 2 hours later than when you said, I just thought, that was so funny, Spirit, but don't ever do it again.
That's very funny.
Yeah, it was. The next morning, I was actually, you know what? They did exactly what I wanted. I wanted that physical interaction. And yeah, I got that not only in the alarm system within the building, but also with the external lights. There was a physical effect on them to activate them. But as I said, 12:30 at night with alarms blaring, the cat going, what's going on? The Reverend Nick Brown. All I have now is an image of you in United. It's not pretty, Nick. It is not pretty. Trust me. But anyway, Fredrik, sir, always such a delight to talk to you. Everybody who's watching tonight, thank you again for joining in. We really hope these evenings are just stimulating conversation, thought. Take from it what you can. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, well, you know what? Well done for taking part in it. Lovely, Julie Caswell. I'll send the money's in the post, my love. Just a comment there. Really agree how your open circle is run. Yeah, because as I said, I think we really need to focus on that. We've got so many new people coming into our movement. And this is that opportunity to get that foundation in that bedrock about, you know, it's about you. It is about you and what you can become and what greatness you can achieve. So, yeah, Fredrik, absolutely delighted.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lawrence. It has been a true pleasure. And thank you, everyone who has been here and spent an hour together with us. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you. The church is live online tomorrow at 11 a.m. GMT, and our service is taken by Stephen Mager from Portsmouth. Sorry, I just got detracted by a comment there. Lovely Stephen Mager from Portsmouth who's taken our service. Next week's Lyceum night at 7 o'clock GMT, we welcome Ron Cox from Florida. Who will be our guest, making another welcome return to us. thank you everybody for interacting. Thank you for watching and joining in. And anybody watching in the future, we hope that this has had some value for you. But yeah, thank you everybody.
If there is any question in the future, they can just post it to Paul Spiritualist Church.
And I will forward it on to Fredrik.
Absolute. Bye for now.
Good night, everybody.